At 8:15 a.m. Eastern Time, we get the ECB interest rate forecast.
Okay, good afternoon, folks.
ECB deposit rate forecast, no change on the prior 2%.
Okay, good afternoon, folks. Hopefully you're all doing well. Let's see who we've got in the house today. Hello to Sophia. Hello to you. Hello to Zachariah. Hopefully you can hear me coming through. Okay, just confirm if you can hear me, someone. Now we can get going. Will Bastian, Bastian, yes, good morning to you. Good morning. Welcome again to one of these live events. We are going to be doing these periodically throughout the calendar month on the big news events that can impact the markets. A bit of education in here as well, looking obviously for trading opportunities, but also with a trivia giveaway. Okay, so this is your chance to get involved and to basically give yourself a chance to win an assessment account in our prop firm. Okay, so what's going to happen is over the next 15 minutes or so, 20 minutes or so, I'm going to talk a little bit about the ECB, and in there are going to be some facts, and I'm going to trivia you on them as well in about 10 minutes or 15 minutes or so. So do listen up because these answers are all going to be buried in what I talk about. So a bit of fun there for you, and there's some rules here that we want to get clear to you, right? So please listen up. Do not put the answers in the chat. Yeah, do not put the answers in the chat here when I read out the questions. Very simple. 3 questions. Get your answers written down on a bit of paper. There's a form here. It's a Glean form, which is going to be posted here in the chat in a second or two. Get yourself registered on there with your name and your email and your 3 answers to the questions, and then it will be entered into the competition. Anyone that puts the answers in the chat simply won't count. I might even disqualify you as well, because we don't want to ruin it for everyone. People have to go and do their research if they don't know it already, and put the answers in. So we can get that Glean form up now. That will be that'd be good. Okay, Pip Ray, hello to you. Good to see you again. JG Knox, Boaty Trader, hi Andrew. Finally made a stream. You made a live stream. Well done, well done, Mr. Knox. Mr. Knox is one of our private students. So I talked to him on the live one-on-ones and what have you. He's just been out to Australia to watch the British Lions defeat the Aussies. So congratulations to British Lions, and well done for you, JG, for making it back in time for the most important event of the week, the European Central Bank live stream. Nelson, hello to you. Good to see you, one of my regulars. NR, hello to you. Good to see you as well. Joe Orduriva, Angua. We've got a few old faces coming in now as well. So there you have it. There's the form. Okay, there's the form. There's the Glean form. Click the link. Get yourself set up, get your answers in. There's not first come, first served unless everyone gets the questions right. But the first ones to get their answers in, if there's more than 3 winners, then obviously the first come, first served. So there you are. Don't put the answers in the chat. And I'm sure someone that's just not listening to me is going to do that, in which case I'll ban you. Right, okay. As always, just have to say this. Okay, that's the prize quiz that I'm just talking about. So there's 3 times the $12,500. Just a bit of housekeeping, by the way. The announcement of the ECB will come out over my squawk in 10 minutes' time at 1:15 the hour. Of course, with the internet delay, don't think you can trade on the back of what you hear coming out of the squawk, because you'll be delayed. As always, I do have to say this disclaimer. What I'll be discussing over the next 35-40 minutes or so, it's meant for entertainment, education purposes. Do not trade, please. with real money or simulated money and prop accounts on the back of what I say. I'm trying to get traders, aspiring traders, to think like traders, not trying to give you a signal to tell you when to buy and when to sell. Because I can tell you now, that does not work. If you're following a signal service from someone and you think you can give up your day job and become a full-time trader by following a signal service, by following the advice of one trade from one educator or so-called guru, you are mistaken. I've not seen anything like that in the last, certainly the last 15 years or 10 years that I've been in the education space. In the last 20 years that I've been involved in online trading. And of course, for those that know me, I've been trading for many more years before that as well in the city of London. Ray Dalio, good to see you. Right. Okay, so just before we get into the quiz questions, I just want to talk a little bit about the ECB. So the announcement is going to come out at 1:15. The ECB basically stands for the European Central Bank. Okay, unlike the Fed, where we have the Fed making decisions on the US interest rates, or we have the Bank of England making decisions on the British interest, on the UK interest rates. The ECB is made up of a whole bunch of banks. They're actually based in Frankfurt in Germany. So the German central bank and the French central bank, the Italian central bank, they're all collectively part of the European Central Bank. And they decide, because obviously you've got one single currency, they decide on where interest rates will be going. Now, today's announcement is going to come out in about 7 minutes' time. It's widely expected that they are going to leave rates unchanged. For those that have been following the European economics, they've actually cut their interest rates 7 times out of the last 7 meetings. So this is going to be, we think, or I'm not an analyst, but they think, the economists think, that this is going to be the first of the last 8 meetings where they're not going to cut interest rates. European Central Bank's job, basically, with interest rates, this is what they do, is basically to, like any central bank, is to control prices, price stability. They want to keep inflation down at around 2%. US at the moment, rates are still high, inflation is still ticking up there, as you know, but certainly heading in the right direction. Whereas the inflation rate in the Eurozone at the moment is at 2%. So the ECB have pretty much done their job. Okay, so they will basically leave interest rates unchanged. But there's much more going on with the euro these days. The euro, if you look at what's been happening in the euro with with prices, the euro, this is the euro against the US dollar, right? Okay, you remember, if you're trading currencies, whatever you're doing to the first currency in the quote, that's known as the base currency. That is basically, the currency strong or weak, the first currency. So because this chart you see has gone from 101, basically back at the beginning, was it 101 beginning of January? Oh, no, 101 beginning of this year up to 117. Well, it doesn't take a mathematician to see that is a rise of about, been up about 16%. We're now up about 15%. So the euro is actually 15% stronger than it was at the beginning of the year. Or you could say that the dollar is 15% weaker against the euro since the beginning of the year. And this basically does have an impact on the economy. When you see a 15% move of a currency, this basically makes everything that the Eurozone produces, that they want to sell overseas, 15% more expensive. It also makes the cost of imports for the Eurozone, if they want to import something from other countries, it makes them 15% cheaper because their euro has much more spending power, because the euro has gone up by 15%. So I personally think that this is going to have an impact, not necessarily on today's, as you can see, just coming out the score, no change is expected. but it's going to impact possibly the forward-on statement going forward from the president. So she comes on, the president of the ECB is President Christine Lagarde. Right? She comes on for a press conference about 30 minutes after the actual announcement. And that's where she gives her forward guidance. Okay, so she gives her forward guidance, basically, what will happen in interest rates going down the line. She'll also explain why they left their interest rates unchanged or why they moved their interest rates. So they've had big interest rate moves already. We think that she'll leave the interest rates unchanged, but she'll be maybe talking down interest rate cuts further down the line. But there's one big elephant in the room, of course, and that's the Trump tariffs. Okay, so that's the next sort of deal that Trump is going to be negotiating with the Eurozone. Remember, they started off about 50%, and now went down to, I think the Eurozone is sort of budgeting in for 15%, 1.5. Of course, that impacts the again further the exporting of the European goods. If, of course, that comes in at 15% or 20%, again, that hurts European manufacturing because you can't sell your goods as much because if Trump's putting on all these tariffs. So she might be inclined to say, well, hang on, we've got to make our currency weaker. And to make our currency weaker, we've got to start aggressively cutting our interest rates. So I'm personally thinking that the statement will be more dovish than necessarily the actual announcement itself. When I say dovish, it basically means we're going to cut interest rates aggressively, but just waiting to see what the outcome is of the tariffs. That's what I think she's going to say. And I haven't been reading many other economists. That's just my opinion, looking at, from just my experience, looking at what's happened to the currency and looking at what Trump is doing, and obviously the data that comes out of the Eurozone periodically throughout the month. So that's what I think will happen. So if that is the case, what do you think should happen with the euro against the US dollar? Well, if they become more dovish, negative on their interest rates, that basically means this currency, which has already had a fantastic run, 15%, is most probably coming to a potential top, in which case you might want to start looking for reversal patterns. Now, again, back to the disclaimer, don't just trade on the back of that. If she's dovish, it might take time to play out. We have to use our trading strategies to tell us when to get into trades and when not to get into trades. And one of the strategies that I talk about all the time on these live streams, well, we've got two strategies really that I've been trading really for the last, variations of it. Certainly the last 20 years, very basic strategies. I've named them now. I've come into the public arena, but it's the same strategy that I've been using really since I started on the screens, having left the trading pits. And I call them the boomerang strategies. It's basically the boomerang trend, which is looking for trend continuation and looking for a pullback of that trend to get into the trend. But as we know, not all trends continue forever. My expression, the trend is your friend until the bend at the end. Well, we're looking for the bend at the end, possibly, of this euro dollar strength. And one of the components of the trend following strategy is the, there we go, just hearing what the announcement is. It's going to be out in about 50 seconds. So I'm going to be a little bit quiet while I hear it because I want to digest a little bit of what's coming out from the statement that she's prepared. So when it does come out, I will be listening in a little bit to find out what's going on. But I'm thinking here that roadblock resistance is something we always talk about when we're looking at boomerangs. You never want to trade a trend through roadblock resistance or roadblock support. You just have to sit on your hands. But these roadblock resistances and roadblock supports do create themselves trading opportunities. So we're looking for potentially, a move higher if the euro does start.
Julian says we have reached a clear inflection point in EU-China trade relations in 10 seconds.
There we go. So we're just going to come out in about 10 seconds time. Again, you're slightly delayed where you are. Hi, Ray Diallo. Hi to you. Hi, Max666. So right.
No change. Rate remains unchanged at 2% as expected.
Rates are unchanged at 2%.
And interest rate 2.15%. No change. Rate remains unchanged at 2.15% as expected.
Okay, so no change on interest rates.
The ECB says incoming information is broadly in line with the ECB's previous assessment of the inflation outlook. Domestic price pressures have continued to ease, with wages growing more slowly.
So wages are
Partly
growing
reflecting
slowly.
the
This is
ECB's past
deflationary.
Interest rate cuts. The economy has so far proven resilient overall in a challenging global environment. At the same time, the environment remains exceptionally uncertain, especially because of trade disputes.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not pre-committing to a particular rate path. We are determined to ensure that inflation stabilizes at its 2% target in the medium term. It will follow a data-dependent and meeting-by-meeting approach to determining appropriate monetary policy stance.
Okay, so you're hearing that. So basically no change. Interest rates are in line and keeping inflation where it should be, around the 2% level, which of course is why the tool they use to control inflation. Yeah, so no real big shocks there. And you can see the euro dollar just basically just simply not doing anything at the moment, just not reacting in either way. So what I was saying is, over the next few hours, maybe days, we are coming into what I would consider to be massive roadblock resistance. Okay, massive roadblock resistance, which we'll be seeing here at 1.1810. We'll potentially look for reversals. This has been great on trend boomerang continuation, isn't it? Absolutely been fantastic. I'm going to come back to this. I'm going to come back to this ECB European Euro chart. Let's just get these questions out now, because in the last 15 minutes, I've given you some answers to these questions. So we're going to chuck the Glean form up there again. There it is. So hopefully you've all got the Glean form up and ready, and we'll get back to these questions. Okay, so the first question. Now, do not put the answers in the chat. First question. Who is the president of the ECB? Okay, who's the president of the ECB? Second question. What is the main goal of the ECB? Okay. And the third question is, where are the ECB headquarters? So there you are. You've got the form. You've got your three questions. Get it in as quick as you can. If you only have two questions, well, those are the three questions with the right answers. Obviously, will be considered for the three prizes. The first ones in will get those. If no one gets all three, I don't know how many times you've got to say it. There's always one, isn't there? If no one gets all three answers, then it goes down to those that got the two answers. And if no one gets the two answers, it goes down to the first one that gets the one answer. But I think it's all pretty basic stuff. And if you listen to what I'm saying, clearly some people are not listening to what I'm saying. But if you're listening to what I'm saying, then the questions will have been answered already in my little chat beforehand. Elvis is in, Emo is in, Adi's in. That's good. Can we go long the euro dollar? I have no idea. Not what I'm looking at the moment. Shubham, can you go long the euro dollar? I'm looking at potential reversal of the euro dollar at roadblock resistance. I thought I'd be discussing that. So there you have it. Those are the questions. Let's go back to the charts now, and we'll talk about that. And we'll see where we are. Tell you what I'll do, just for you. I'll just put that at the bottom. So those are the questions running through the bottom for you if you've missed the questions 1, 2, and 3. Now, I'm looking at roadblock resistance here in the euro dollar. I mean, you've had, when I say roadblock resistance, I'm talking about levels where we really don't know if there's any liquidity above. And that basically comes in at 118. That's 45 pips from here at the moment. So if I'm trading the trend, the boomerang trend continuation trade, boomerang trend continuation, you had an entry here. If any of you are trading it, okay, so you basically had this low up to the high, it pulls back to the previous high. That was an entry. That would have been your stop. Okay. But of course, your profit target is going to be before this roadblock resistance. Okay. So for example, had you taken that trade long, your entry would have been on this pullback here. I don't know if anyone was in that. And your profit target would have been before the roadblock. So you're getting about 2-to-1 on that trade there. Okay, but obviously that one's missed. So now we've just had another boomerang entry, which comes in at this level now, which is this. Let me just move this up if I can. This level here. But you've got to think of the risk to reward ratio. So my entry is going to be there. My stop has got to be there. I've got roadblock resistance there. I just about get a 1-to-1 on it. So just about get a 1-to-1 on it, but I'm expecting a more reversal. I don't want to trade anything less than 1-to-1. All right. So there you have it. Okay. So got your questions in. Get your answers in, I should say. By the way, if you're putting your answers in, you need to leave your correct email address, because clearly we won't be able to engage with you with the account if we don't have your correct email address. If you want to put in a fake email address just because it's fake, well, of course that won't work and that will disqualify you. So get your email address in there as well. So in terms of reversals, I'll be looking to see what happens when we get up here. So I'm not necessarily going to get involved in this, because this involves really, well, it is an entry, but you've got a 1-to-1. For me, I'm more inclined to be looking for the boomerang reversal, which will basically give you an entry once we test that. Right? Let me tell you what the sort of the idea is behind the boomerang reversals. Basically, we don't know up here, if it's just us looking at that as a big level, or is there liquidity? Right, these big moves you see, this big move from 118 last time down to 115, this is normally big money. This is not just us here on our simulated prop accounts or our MT5 accounts, trading your $10,000 account. This is, where the big money is. We don't know if the big money is sitting up there. I know certainly when I was a city trader, when we had big orders to go, big orders to sell. So somebody just hit us because we were making markets in UK government bonds. Someone might hit us with 250 million pounds worth of government bonds. Well, we'd need to hedge that in the futures market, in the gilt market. We wouldn't chuck out 20,000 contracts in one go, because you're just not going to get the trade done. So we used to what's known as split it. So you put in, partial orders at certain levels to get the trade done, so as not to spook the market against you. But we don't know if that's up here or not at the moment. So I'm going to wait for price action to tell me. Okay, price action will take the form of a pattern, touches it, pulls back, it goes again. Now the buyers are thinking of running out of steam. That would be my entry for the boomerang reversal. So basically looking for a pullback, and a pullback would see us possibly all the way back down to 116. So there's a couple of hundred pips there to be made. My stops would be above. So get a really decent risk to reward on that. All right, I'm just looking at some of the winners. We have, my back office team are helping me here. So bear with me a moment. And I'll see what we're looking at. We've got 3 winners. I can announce we have now 3 winners. I don't know how many people got it correct, but we've definitely seen the first 3 winners are coming in. So congratulations to those. Here we go. So I'll announce the 3 winners at the bottom of the hour. But I will say there are quite a few winners there. Quite a few, I beg your pardon, quite a few people got it correct. So well done. Don't want to make it too hard, but I want to make it a little bit, I want to make it, you've got to do a little bit of work rather than just turning up and hopefully, it's not a raffle. doing a little bit of work, bit of research, maybe. I'm sure people don't know some things, so they can Google it, I guess. But the fastest people to Google it and get it in, fine. But if you listen to me, the answers are always there. So there you have it. So I will take those questions off now because, of course, we've got our winners. All right, what's happening to the markets in general? Have you been watching stocks? Boom. The FTSE, the NASDAQ, S&P 500. We are at all-time highs. All-time highs. Tariff seems to have been sort of, the big sort of scare of tariffs back in April or whenever it was. That's all reversed. Look at the NASDAQ. This has been brilliant for this. I mean, I don't know if anyone's trading the boomerang trend, but I can see so many entries in here. So many entries already. Look, pulls back to the previous high. Off it goes, stops there. Another. Well, this one would have negated it, but this is obviously at all-time highs at the moment. You wouldn't necessarily want to be trading here because, as I say, this is what we would consider to be the roadblock. Definite roadblock resistance in there. Yeah. So I'd be looking for a potential reversal on my strategy, which my strategy is there for all to see. If anyone's interested in that, I'll show you how you can get your hands on that later. In fact, all my education, people have been asking me about the education here and so forth. Yeah, good, decent reversal there. And also look at the FTSE today as we speak, as I'm coming through to you now. The FTSE's never been higher. Is it time to think about? Well, I'm long the FTSE anyway on other assets, other genres, CFDs and so forth, and I've got funds of long all this stuff. So I've actually got child trust fund, which is all in the FTSE, which I took out for my 3 daughters when they were born. My youngest is 15, oldest is 20. So we've still got all our money in they've still all that. They're wealthier than most traders, I'd have thought now with all their FTSE gains. I mean, the FTSE's just been flying. And I'm not going to stand in front of that freight train. I'll be looking to get into that. I'll be looking to get into it on a pullback. A boomerang pullback now would be down to 9,120. You can see the pullback quite clearly here. You've hit the new highs, higher highs, higher lows. Hits this high, pulls back. There's your high. And if it pulls back to this zone, this is your entry. There's the low that led to the high. And away you go. No markets move in the straight line forever. Right, okay. I'll put you out of your misery. Congratulations to all our winners today. And here you go. Coming across the screen now. Not that one. That's the questions again. Here's the winners. Congratulations to Sophia in Portugal. Daniel in the Philippines. Kumusta ka, Daniel. And Jeffrey in England, which I believe is GJ Knox, I believe. It's a nice little welcome present back from Australia. There we go. Still got people there. Gold sold off because of trade wars. Yeah. Indices have been rallying. Correct, Nelson. Yep. What will be the impact? Anyway, congratulations to you winners out there. Well deserved. I'm not sure, team. How many winners did we have in total? Maybe someone can tell me exactly how many winners we had, or maybe that information is not available at the moment. But those were the first 3 that came in. What will be the impact of unemployment claims? Will it possibly go higher? I'm long. What will the impact of what? Impact of, well, just on very basic sort of, we only had 3 winners today. So those were we had more than that winners. Those are the first 3, weren't we? We got some data coming out in Canada. Okay, we can't tell you how many people got it right in total. So if you think you got it right, unfortunately, you just weren't in time. So better luck next time. Just in terms of basic economics, Shubham, of course, unemployment is linked to prices. Yeah, if manufacturing is impacted because of tariffs, if manufacturing in Eurozone is impacted in a really strong currency, then that basically means unemployment will rise because obviously they're not able to sell as much in terms of products. I know the auto market in Eurozone is heavily affected, not being able to sell as many cars and autos as before. So unemployment will rise as the currency will tend to rise as it is here at the moment, which is why you might find Lagarde basically cut interest rates more aggressively. But as I say, she'll be on the news wires in about 15 minutes. I won't be on, but you can keep an eye out for it. You can stream it live or watch it on Bloomberg or something. Oh, you're talking about these? You're talking about these jobless unemployment numbers, unemployment claims. Oh, I beg your pardon. Sorry, talking about the unemployment claims on a Thursday. To be honest, these unemployment claims that come out on a Thursday are really not looked at these days. I beg your pardon. I get where you're coming from now. No, these unemployment claims are not that important. They come out every Thursday. We really look at the JOLTS numbers and NFP numbers for a bit more of a sort of a bit more of a clue. So I'm not too worried about those. Right. Okay. You got those winners. I just hide that off from here. So we'll contact you, the three winners, as the back office collate the information. We'll send you all the details how you can get your free accounts. Right. What about this yen? Okay, so the yen has been great. I've been in our Discord. If anyone's in our Discord, in our private members area, we've been talking about this all on the way down, how it's been performing absolutely fantastically as a boomerang trend. And one thing I said yesterday, I actually said it at about this time yesterday. I said when we were up here or something like that, I said our next level is at 145.85, and boy oh boy has this bounced off 145.85. This is a big level. Okay, again, don't trade what I think. I think this currency pair goes lower. I think it goes lower. I think it's I think dollar is inherently it's in a downtrend. I don't see why the interest rates will not be cut in the US at some point, and that's basically what's priced into the market. I think it goes lower, but the technicals tell me now that this is most probably a time for a bit of a bounce. Okay, we've come back to this big level. This whole move higher started from here, broke through, back to retest, and off it went. And we've been sort of staggering our way down using boomerang trends, following all the way down till we get down to here now. So we touched in there. So the boomerang levels would be around the 145.85, literally as we were speaking about in the chat yesterday. JG Knox, yes, looking forward to scaling it. Yes, absolutely. You can scale these. One of our most successful traders, he basically scaled a 200 grand account up to 800 grand account he's on at the moment. I think he's about 100 grand in profit as well, which he can take out whenever he wants. Yeah, you can scale up that 12.5 grand up to as high as you want to go, up to a $2 million account, if that's your thing. Think the big picture. So yeah, looking forward to seeing you scale it as well. And Dang says Joe Deriva. So this is a big level. We've touched in here. You've got this sort of bearish candle with this bullish engulfing candle at that level. This on its own is a 4-hour what we call naked trade setup, where you just look for these reversal patterns, stops below. But if you want to look at the boomerang on the lower time frame charts, what happens here? Okay, so we take these lower lows, hits here, pulls back up. Well, this here is a break of structure now. We've got pulled back up to 146.65. and then back down to 45, and then we engulf. This is a boomerang reversal. Not the best one I've seen in terms of its clarity, but let me just take those off. Best I've seen in terms of its clarity, but the low here pulls back, previous low there. So if we break and confirm above this level really, and then we're on back up to the next level of liquidity, which has to be at 147.22. Okay, this low, this high, that is your next level without a doubt for targets. Okay, so any long trades now in dollar yen, because we're seeing that reversal pattern, has to be considering this level as your profit target. Okay, and when you're looking at profit targets, you always have to factor in, you always have to factor in, where's my long trades? No, where is it? Always have to factor in the risk. So your risk is below there, profit target there. You get 1.5 to 1 on that. If it breaks through, then your next level is at 147.90. Okay, but that would be my technical bias for this. And also, the yen. If you look at the momentum meter, the yen is a currency under pressure. That's the 1 hour. But look at the 4-hour yen. Okay, so this 4 hour, this is the yen here. So it's come back down from almost like a 45-degree line against the other currencies. Dollar's getting a little bit stronger as well. These commodity currencies are looking strong. This is the Australian dollar and the New Zealand dollar. Commodity currencies always perform better when stock markets are doing well. As economies pick up, more raw materials and oil and copper and all that, which these are exporting from Australia, always tend to do well. And the yen's under pressure. So in terms of reversals, buying yen crosses, which basically means you're buying the first currency and selling the yen, most probably makes sense. Obviously, the dollar is reversing, so that's a one trade. But if you look at the Aussie yen, the Aussie yen is another one where there might be some trade opportunities. The yen is weak. Why do you want to be buying the yen? Aussie yen. We've cleared that roadblock resistance. This is not a bad trade, actually. I'm talking myself into a trade here. Roadblock resistance at 97.42. So I've got about 50 pips to play with, I think. Well, actually, no. I think my roadblock resistance comes at 98.50. That's my zone. That's my liquidity zone that I think you should be looking at. You don't want to be trading trend through that zone. And that would be your profit target for long trades. Pulls back into previous highs. Doji, that's bullish price action on the daily. Simple as that. And the Japanese, there's finance meetings going on in Japan. They might remove finance minister or something, or the prime minister, I should say, in Japan. Uncertainty for Japan with the prime minister sort of future in question. The risk on. Remember, risk on favors the high beta currencies, the Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar. Weaker currencies are the low yielding currencies like the Swiss. Look at the Swiss, the red line. Yeah, this is risk on. And you don't want to fight this. You've got to pick your trading battles. Nasudo 2024, wait to watch me live. Gold breaks the symmetric level of 33.7, goes back into all down. Gold. Gold's been a bit dull, isn't it? Gold. Gold has been in a bit of a oops, a daisy. Down trade looks possibly bearish, isn't it? The 1 hour, it's just basically back down to liquidity zone, isn't it? Excuse me. Yeah, difficult to call that for me. I think this is definitely a zone. If I was short, if I was able to get a short off on this up here, which I don't think I would have done, well, although he hit resistance up there, I don't think I would have had a strategy entry myself. But had I had an entry on whatever strategy you're using, or maybe, yeah, I mean, yeah, okay, you've got a bit of a breaker structure there, haven't you? I'd tell that. Okay, so I'm going to correct myself on that. I didn't trade it. I don't know if you were chatting in the in our private chat on this one on Discord. We've got a private Discord channel for some of our members. But yeah, that's the level from previous highs from the 25th of June. We come up to test, touches it, pulls back, go again, pulls back. That is your break. So yes, there is a boomerang reversal. I don't know if you follow the boomerangs, but you are correct. That is a boomerang reversal set up right there for those of you that follow my strategy. And that is and that's the trade. Your short there, your stops are there, and my profit target would be down here had I been short with a 3-to-1, and that would have taken you less than a day. But that is the setup. By the way, I teach all this in our education. Let me just see if I can pull it up. This is not available to all, of course. This is our education department. Let me just show you that. Okay, so we've got a whole bunch of education videos here. Everything from beginners, intermediaries, fundamental analysis, what drives the market, market structure, liquidity, order blocks. You've got knowing your strategy, back testing, risk on, risk off, correlation. Got to be one of the most important lessons I've given in my years of educating aspiring traders. You've got technical analysis, you've got the psychology. We've also got a fantastic psychology course made by Simon, our CEO. It's about 10 hours of videos here, I think. I also talk about my strategies here. So here you've got the boomerangs, trend following, strategy walkthroughs, risk management on the strategies, everything you need to know. Also, if you do, you've got all these trade journals as well. I've included cheat sheets. You've got, I've got another one there. I'm just about to upload. Oh no, yeah, it's a trade journal. We've also like a business plan template, and that's a psychology course from Simon here. There it is. Yeah, anyone can get their hands on this, and I'll give you a little clue, seeing as you bothered to stay with me today. If you take out, and also if you take out an assessment with us, 50K or above, you can have access to all that for absolutely free. Just use the code at the checkout, prop IQ. Let me see if I can. There you go. So use the code there, prop IQ, on the checkout on any 50K account or above, and that will give you instant access to all that education. And looking at my calendar as well, just bear with me a second. Just looking at my calendar. There you go. I'll also throw in a 1 hour session with me, basically a one-on-one mentoring session, where I'll try and steer you in the right direction, sort of give you a roadmap, discuss everything that you're doing, and set you on the right path as well. So if you did that today, 50K account or 100K account, at the checkout, just use the coupon code PropIQ. And this actually coincides with with something you may have seen if you have been watching the progress of what we're doing here at FTP. We've just basically cut for the summer the experience program to by 20% for a couple of, I think it's a week. I think we've got to go at the end of the month, I think, on that. So just a week to go. So this actually coincides nicely with the 20% discount on those accounts on the experience program, which is the one phase program. So really great timing if you're interested. And of course, you get a one-on-one with me. Why would you not want a one-on-one with me? There you go. So I'd like to see some of you in there. Obviously, I get notified immediately. My calendar, I don't do one-on-ones all day long. I've got other things to do. And so my calendar does get booked up. But obviously, if you do it now, there are some slots available for next week if you were to want to do that today. Right, yeah, so that's my view on this. I wouldn't be selling selling gold at this level because I think we're coming into a level. I'd be more looking for potential reversal back from these levels. But had you been trading our boomerang, you would have been in there. So nice one. Yeah, for those that are in there. Bitcoin 118. That's annoying. Sold a lot of my Bitcoin at 109. Anyway, never mind. Got a good run on it, up from 80, I think it was. So I will leave that there for today. Hopefully you learned something today. Hopefully you've got something to take into your trading going forward. Congratulations to all our winners. You've got yourself a free assessment account. I'll be back on live Monday morning or Monday afternoon, depending, of course, on where you are, for the week ahead stream. So make sure you subscribe to the channel here on YouTube, so you'll be notified when I go live if you're not on the on the list, as it were. So you'll be notified when I go live. So I'll be doing a live stream every Monday, discussing the week ahead, and we'll also be doing another gold giveaway. So we'll give another assessment account away on guessing the price of gold, and it really is a guess. So I'd like to see you on there on Monday. And next week we're also doing I think I'm doing retail sales next week, or FOMC. What is it? One of those two. Again, subscribe to the channel and you'll be notified. But it's one of those twos, and you'll see exactly when I'm back on. Thanks for showing up. Lagarde is now going to be on the wires. She's just reading a statement at the moment.
How long will that pause be after cutting interest rates by 200 basis points in a little more than 12 months?
Yeah. Okay. So we'll see what she comes up with now, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a bit of action in the euro. My personal feeling is that it will be not positive for the euro, but more negative for the euro. So you may see that retrace certainly from these levels. 118 is the level to watch. Bye for now. Thanks indeed for tuning in. I'll see you later.